It's about the restoration of our republic. We want to educate, encourage, enable the power. We stand for integrity, honesty, self-reliance, self-defense, and most importantly, no compromise on our foundational principles. This is America's Voice Now.
Find America's Voice Now on Facebook and at americasvoicenow.org. Here's Michael Evans.
Good morning, America. You're listening to America's Voice Now. My name is Michael Evans. I'll be your host this morning. Glad that you were able to join us. Appreciate your visiting with us. We're going to hit a couple of topics this morning that I think are important and noteworthy for our discussion. First of all, there's some news that's out about President Obama's half-brother and how he is the executive secretary of the Muslim Brotherhood, responsible for their financial affairs. The issue gets even more complex, and it gets even richer, and we'll get into details on that as we move forward through that first segment. Our second segment will deal with the Egyptian sources that are claiming that they have a substantial number of, or a substantial amount of documentation that supports their argument that the Obama administration, and specifically President Obama, has directed the attempt to try to encourage or enforce the Muslim Brotherhood on the Egyptian nation. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, because if that is in fact true, some of those areas with the release of that information, if it is verifiable and documentable, may change the entire tenor and tone of our conversation as a nation. So I think it's important that we at least look at it and evaluate it. Our third segment will address a new program in the Netherlands where they have stepped up to what they're referencing as the abandonment of multiculturalism. And we're going to evaluate that and take a look at that and determine whether or not it would be an appropriate solution for the United States to take on that same mantra. And then fourth and finally, unemployment. A poll came out yesterday from Gallup that announces that unemployment has actually reached 8.9%. And in addition to that, we're getting some very, very disturbing numbers from corporate America, which is telling us that the vast majority of jobs that have been created have been part-time, and that they are all low-level jobs. I mean, we're talking, folks, here about 80% of the jobs that have been created are part-time. Now, that's a staggeringly high number, and it appears that that would be the new normal under this the current regime and the implementation of Obamacare as we move forward. And so we're going to take a look at that and evaluate that. If you'd like to give us a call, you can this morning. We have recently hooked up our inbound phone lines. And so if you'd like to join us and participate with us in the discussion, you're certainly welcome to. Our telephone line is area code 417-204-5141. And I'll give that to you one more time. Write it down. Put it in your mobile phone. Store it at your home. And make sure that you use it. The telephone number again is 417-204-5141. So, okay, let's dive right into this. The WorldNet Daily has a very, very interesting story out there today, and it's by Jerome Corsi. And basically, it is an exclusive project or article that they've written, or he's written, Obama's brother linked to the Muslim Brotherhood. The report says Malik Obama directs the radical Islamic movement's investments. And so there is even more information surrounding that I think you're going to be surprised to hear, but you're going to find not surprising, but frustrating. President Obama's half-brother in Kenya has caused the White House even more headaches recently because of his links to the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. And he further has received a tax-exempt approval letter from the United States IRS in reference to establishing a tax-exempt 501c3 corporation. Now, the purpose of that, and it's an Obama-named not-for-profit organization. And unfortunately, the person who actually signed off on it was none other than Lois Lerner, number one. Now, that would be bad enough. But more importantly, what you're going to find as we go through this is that it wasn't just a question of her signing off on this. She signed off on it in 2011, except she backdated it to 2008 in an effort to cover up and keep Malik Obama and the organization legal. Why do I say that? Well, for starters, Malik Obama was advertising and soliciting donations to his particular charity. And he was doing so back in 2008, stating that they were already a not-for-profit organization, which was clearly a fraud perpetrated on those people who were donating, because they did not have a 501c3 exemption at that time. And to make matters worse, the people who were donating, and you say, well, why is that a fraud? Well, the people who were donating were then submitting tax returns that indicated that they had donated money to a legitimate 501c3 tax-exempt organization. So therefore, they were entitled to a tax exemption based on however much money they had given. The problem, of course, shows that we then as taxpayers were taking a loss as a collective group because taxes weren't paid on this money. But to make matters worse, there is zero supporting documentation that any of the money was actually ever used for its intended purposes. So this story gets uglier and uglier and uglier as we go on. Now, let's address these because there's a number of different claims in this story. First, that Malik Obama's oversight of the Muslim Brotherhood's international investments is a serious problem for the president, if not on a legal standing. Certainly in light of the fact that the president is got enough problems going on with Egypt right now and the Muslim Brotherhood, in addition to the fact that it would be a major problem for most Americans to recognize that the president's own brother is in charge of a terrorist organization's financial investments. Now, let's understand who these folks are. In the news report and an Egypt television station, a former Palestinian Liberation Organization operative by the name of Gabelli said she would like to, quote, inform the American people that their president's brother Obama is one of the architects of the major investments of the Muslim Brotherhood. Quote, we will carry out the law and the Americans will not stop us, she said. We need to open files and begin court sessions. The Obama administration cannot stop us. They know that they supported terrorism. We will open the files so these nations are exposed. To show how they collaborated with terrorists, it is for this reason that the American administration fights us. Okay. This was an interview that was done on Egyptian television, and the issue here is that what she's basically asserting is that the United States government supported the Muslim Brotherhood by virtue of these 501c3 foundation monies, and in addition to that, that the president had a vested interest and a reason or a motivation for supporting the Muslim Brotherhood, even though that was against the will of the Egyptian people. WorldNet Daily did report back in May that funds that were contributed to in the U.S. to a 501c3 foundation that is run by Malik Obama had been diverted to support Malik's multiple wives in Kenya. And Lois Lerner, the director of the IRS Tax Exempt Division, currently under congressional investigation, was the actual signatory on that exemption document. So the name of this group, by the way, is Malik Obama's Barack H. Obama Foundation. So essentially, here's what we need to know. The guy is playing on his brother's name in an attempt to drive donations that ordinarily he probably wouldn't gather or be qualified to receive, and nobody would care one way or the other. But because his brother happens to be the President of the United States, half-brother, for all intents and purposes, he's playing on his brother's name, right? He's riding his coattails. Lerner was the one who actually signed off on this. And the biggest problem with it is not necessarily that she signed off on it, but that when she signed off on it and backdated it to 2008. So let's understand how that works. WorldNet Daily reported in September of 2011 that the Barack H. Obama Foundation apparently did finally receive its IRS approval, but only 1 month after the application was submitted. So we know that the IRS targeted conservative groups, and they withheld for multiple years, in some cases 3 years, their applications for 501c3 status. Now, the brother of Barack Obama submitted an application in May of 2012. I'm sorry, in April of 2012, and within 30 days, in May, was granted that approval. The IRS determination letter was dated, or was granted in June of 2011. And here's the problem. It was granted a highly irregular, retroactive tax exempt approval only after the group came under fire for operating as a 501c3 foundation since 2008, without actually having ever applied to the IRS. In other words, they were classifying themselves and calling themselves a 501c3 as early as 2008, and yet they didn't actually submit their application until May of 2011. That's fully 3 years later, right? When Lois Lerner granted the exemption and signed off on it, she backdated it retroactively to make it applicable from 2008 to 2011, effectively giving him cover so that everything that he had done and all his illegal actions and fraudulent claims that he was a 501c3 corporation were nullified. Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is a major issue in and of itself. Right off the bat, irrespective of the relationship to Obama, irrespective of who the money went to, where it was collected from, or anything else, if you are claiming that you are a 501c3 corporation and that you are providing tax-exempt status to those people who donate to you for those donation amounts, then that is fraud if you do not actually have the designation. It's that simple. Nothing else matters. This is an indictable federal offense that comes with jail time. It's tax fraud. Period. Nothing else matters. Just on that one incident alone, on that one aspect of this story, that one facet of this particularly putrid diamond, Malik Obama and the entire Malik Obama, Barack H. Obama Foundation should be immediately banned and removed from the rolls of 501c3 and outlawed as an organization, disbanded, charged criminally and civilly. Because you cannot, well, first of all, give me the reason to why you would backdate that particular application while simultaneously withholding for 3 years many other applications, literally into the multiples of hundreds. So, the investigative report that was issued here by this guy by the name of Shobat is titled New IRS Scandal, Islamic Extremism, Sex Slaves. Report reveals Obama's relatives run a charity of deceit. Okay? And it's published on this guy Shobat's website. And here's the quote. After a thorough examination of available evidence, Shobat explained to WorldNet Daily his allegations against the Obama Family Tax-Exempt Foundation. Here's his statement. When Malik Obama and Sarah Obama, that's Malik's wife, I'm sorry, his that's Barack Obama's step-grandmother. Sarah Obama is his step-grandmother, not his true biological grandmother, but his step-grandmother. Now, and let's understand, Malik Obama, for the record, is the president's father's, his real father, or his African father's son. Okay, so Barack and Malik have different mothers, right? Malik Obama and Sarah Obama raised money in the United States as the respective heads of foundations that claim to be charities. Not only did the Internal Revenue Service illegally grant one of them tax-deductible status retroactively, but these foundations have supported, to varying degrees, illegal operations that acquire funding for personal gain, philandering, polygamy, and the promotion of Wahhabism, the brand of Islam practiced by Al-Qaeda. So, how does he back these claims and statements up? Well, it's very interesting. The Mama Sarah Obama Foundation, which was created on behalf of Obama's step-grandmother in Kenya, has transferred funds, 90% of which were raised here in the United States from both individuals and corporations, to send Kenyan students to the top 3 most radical Wahhabist madrasas in Saudi Arabia. So the money that they're getting in this 501c3, tax-exempt organization, from U.S. individuals and corporations, is being used to fund students who are being sent to Saudi Arabia to go to madrasas there, which are the most radical madrasas available. And now, for those of you who follow Islam, Wahhabism is the most radical version, and that is practiced and founded in Saudi Arabia. That was where it began. Since its founding in 2008, the Barack H. Obama Foundation, operating out of a commercial mall drop in Arlington, Virginia, has solicited tax-deductible contributions on the Internet, listing addresses and telephone numbers both in the United States and Kenya, without disclosing that the group actually lacked an IRS determination letter. In September of 2011, the IRS confirmed to WorldNet Daily that the Barack H. Obama Foundation had actually received a determination letter in June of 2011. However, it awarded the group tax-exempt 501c3 status retroactively back to 2008. That, folks, is a very, very stunning piece of news. And I got to tell you, regardless of the connection to Obama, in and of itself, that is a criminal indictable offense. Okay, tax-exempt polygamy. This is the next topic of the story. Andrew Malone, who reports for the London Daily Mail, has documented that Malik's youngest wife in Kenya, and by the way, Malik has 12 wives. So understand that this is Malik Obama, President Obama's brother, half-brother. He has 12 wives. Now, that's acceptable in that country, so we don't even want to get into the issue of whether it is or isn't good. But here's a problem. One of his wives, his youngest wife, her name is Sheila Anyano. She's 35 years younger than him, and she has spent the past 3 years living with 3 of Malik's other wives at the Barack H. Obama Foundation Rest and Relaxation Center. It's a restaurant complex that profits from visitors drawn by the family's connection to the American president. That's the only thing that they've ever done with all these donations, by the way. They built this Foundation Rest and Relaxation Center and restaurant where he lives along with his wives, and they, claim that the money, when they were actually soliciting it, was to be used for widows and orphans and such, and of course none of that's ever been built. According to the Daily Mail, members of the extended family in Kenya have accused Malik, a practitioner of Islam and a polygamist, of being a wife-beater and a philanderer. Malik is accused of seducing Sheila, the youngest of his and the newest of his estimated 12 wives, when she was only a 17-year-old schoolgirl, which in Kenya is a crime because the age of majority or consent is 18. Malone, the author from the Daily Mail, tracked down Sheila's mother, who explained to the reporter that Malik Obama had secret trysts, those are her words, that's a quote, with the girl, after spotting her attending prayers at a mosque that he had built in Kogelo. the family's ancestral home. Sheila, who is now age 20, has actually come out and told Ambrose that marrying Malik, now age 55, was the worst decision of her life, and confirmed that she and Malik kept their marriage a secret because she was only 17 at the time. Her quote, "At first he was good. After he started speaking to me at the mosque," Sheila told the Daily Mail. "But he has changed. Marrying him has been the biggest mistake of my life. He beats me, but mostly he's just nasty and quarrelsome." Okay. There is no evidence, according to Showbot, that Malik Obama has ever used any of the nonprofit funds for their intended purposes, which was to build any homes for widows, orphans, and HIV/AIDS victims. The only evidence where monies were spent involves the Barack Obama Recreation and Rest Center in Kenya, which houses Malik's 12 wives in a facility that includes a restaurant and a mosque with a madrasa. Whew. I'm telling you, guys, this is really dirty stuff. There's actually and I've posted this up on our Facebook page, and I've posted it up on our website, and you can find evidence of it there, including an actual IRS form, 990EZ, which was submitted back in May of 2011, only days before the IRS determination letter was sent, claiming, and it's handwritten, and there's a scan of it, so you can actually see the actual document. You can find our website at facebook.com/America's Voice Now. And then you can find our website at americasvoicenow.org. The Facebook one will be the easiest one to find. The easy form appears to be handwritten, and they reported that they received $24,250 gross income in 2010, derived from contributions, gifts, and grants. So anyway, the real issue here is that what we have to understand. What we have to understand is that Malik Obama has violated our tax laws and fraudulently obtained donations under the guise of these not-for-profit enterprises. Irrespective of what he's done in Kenya, if he married a girl in Kenya who was under the age of majority, that's a Kenyan issue to resolve, not an American issue to resolve. However, what is an American issue is the fact that, one, he misused the funds that he was donated, and two, that he obtained them by fraudulent means, and three, and perhaps most importantly, that the IRS willingly and knowingly participated and protected and covered up his misuse and misrepresentations and fraud. That, folks, is a criminal offense as well on the part of Lois Lerner. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the next aspect of this thing, which is that these Egyptian sources are claiming that the Obama administration willfully and knowingly participated in the unrest in Egypt in an attempt to cover up their involvement, and there's a lot of skullduggery going on there. You're listening to America's Voice Now. We'll be back in just a moment. Please stay with us. If you're watching us live on our streaming video, simply hit the play button again in another moment or two, and we'll be back on. We do break for commercials or our pauses in our recordings, and we'll be back in just a moment. Stick with us. This is America's Voice Now.